Welcome back to St James's Pod. I'm Sam. I'm joined in this one by Tom, Alex and Peter's back. We'll be going over the Southampton game where we've done it again. We've got 3 points and smashed in another few goals. And it was a game of two halves yet again. We'll also be looking ahead to the Arsenal game. If you enjoy the episode, please give us a like. Follow the podcast. You can also become a member. The links for that are in the description. And before we dive into it, here's a quick word from this week's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Sword Tiling, lead tiling specialists in the Northeast. Covering all aspects, including commercial and domestic, they've got you covered. So head to sword_tiling on Instagram and tell them St James's Pod sent you. Right, let's get straight into this one. Unlike Newcastle United, let's dive straight in at full throttle. Guys, team lineups. What did you make? Pete, we'll start with you because you weren't here last week. What did you make of the team lineup when you saw it?
I'll start with Dan Burn. I was the last game. I was glad Target was in because I thought Dan Burn had a shocker. Then after watching Matty Target, I was glad Dan Burn was back in because Matty Target had a shocker. So stick to what you know. Jacob Murphy back in for Miggy. I like that. Jacob Murphy's playing out his skin at the minute, so crack on. You can start every game for me. The whole obviously Anthony Gordon started because they thought Longstaff had broke his foot. Turns out he hasn't, obviously, thankfully. But that was going to be a big risk if he broke his foot. So I think Gordon deserved a start. He'd been playing well. So yeah, no qualms about
it. Tom, obviously, Wilson dropped back to the bench. What did you make to that? I think in the preview we were saying we expected the same lineup to start against Spurs.
We did call it, and the thing is, it's just the luxury that we have at the minute of having such informed strikers that, you know, Isaac could drop out and Wilson can come in and score goals and vice versa. So I think it's just important to keep them as fresh as we can get them. Tactically wise, I don't know if there was any kind of reasoning that Eddie had other than just purely fitness reasons. Like, I couldn't think why that would be preferred ahead of Wilson, particularly against the Southampton defence. I suppose anybody could score against Southampton the way things have been going for them this season. So yeah, I wasn't too surprised. But yeah, it was hard going in that first half for sure for Isaac and a few of the others.
Yeah, it was a game of two halves again where we really didn't get started, did we? But Alex, I just wanted to ask you, obviously you were at the game with Pete, and it seemed on the TV like it was really flat in the first half, that was atmosphere-wise. Was that due to the fact it was like Sunday afternoon, or do you think it was starting to become a case of we're expecting to win against teams in the league now?
See, I don't think you can blame it being a Sunday afternoon, because I was talking to Pete after the match and said, like, this Sunday against Arsenal, the ground's going to be absolutely fucking bouncing.
Yeah. And it was a bank holiday.
Bank holiday Sunday as well, yeah, so you'd think that people would have been out for it being a Sunday afternoon.
But you did say, Dawes, sorry, just as we were walking up through town, you said, like, you predicted, like, you were like, I don't think it's going to be a very good atmosphere today, because it just felt flat straight away.
You can tell walking through town, it's weird. Like, you're like walking past the gate, like up towards the ground. You can tell if the atmosphere is going to come out like electric or if it's going to be a bit flat. Like, you'll get people chanting all the way up to the stadium if it's going to be like buzzing. If not, it was just like a little buzz. But yeah, from the off, like, yeah, the corner and the Gallagher end started to try and get some chance going. It wasn't that bad for the first sort of 10 minutes, but I think it's the main reason is playing bottom of the league, and it's expected to win, expected to be comfortable, and it was far from that in that first half because we struggled getting the ball, we struggled to make chances, and we seemed fairly open at the back. So they silenced the crowd really fucking quickly. Like, and I think St James's Park is quite bad for that. For
Yeah.
especially like now we're winning. Like if it doesn't start going our way in the first like 20 minutes, it can go flat very quickly, and that happened
100%.
again on Sunday.
Yeah. Our fans are shit until we score. Like if it's not going our way, we're shit until we score. It's true. It just happens, doesn't it?
Sometimes I'll say we need some controversy in this match, or we need to concede. We need something to like lift the crowd up, because like without it, like it was just flat. Yeah,
It was flat. I mean, you're saying there that like Southampton didn't give us a sniff. Even when we got the ball, our passing was appalling. We couldn't make a pass. We couldn't put a cross in. We couldn't do anything. Trippier had a really bad first half an hour. I thought. Nothing went well. Joe Linton was bad. It was exactly the same start as Everton. I think Everton went at us more than Southampton did. Didn't let us rest. But I think against Southampton, it was just so sloppy from us. Like we couldn't make a pass. Isak was just didn't have a chance because we couldn't make anything for him. Because he was just a lone man. It was very, very poor, and you almost felt like they were going to score first.
Yeah.
Well, obviously I had the same feeling about Everton, and we obviously scored against the run of play in that game.
Yeah.
And we were lucky to score because we were second best then in the first half. And I don't know what it is. Like obviously, like it's strange because like I'm fully expecting on Sunday if we were to come out absolutely like firing against Arsenal, like high intensity, high press, pinging the ball about, which we did do in the second half, but we just never got going.
Do you think you can put this one partly down to the fact it was the third game in space of a week? Or do you think the fact you you did refresh the starting 11 quite a bit shouldn't really have affected it?
Yeah, but you say refreshed it quite a bit though. It's not something.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah, I just mean like the likes of Isak, you'd think are fresh. Dan Burn obviously should be fresh, but the players you're highlighting there are actually like Trippier, Joe Linton.
Right, yeah, I've got you. Yeah.
Played every game, so maybe they're just a bit tired on this one. But then you look back at Everton, like you just said, it was the same. So I don't know if you can. Say
that could be a fair point. I think especially the centre of the park was where especially in that first half was where Southampton really were winning those battles. I thought Lavia had a really solid game generally, like for the time he was on the pitch, but especially in that first half, obviously highlighted by the fact that he won the ball against Bruno, which led to them scoring. But I think other than he's just one of like a few of those midfielders who just got the edge on us initially. Like it was just good pressing from them, and we weren't able to get anything going passing wise, and they seemed to like draw both the full backs out of positions. Like Pete, you mentioned Trippier had a poor one. Like I think he was just getting dragged way out, and it was just causing spaces for Suleimani. I think on the right hand side, and Stuart Armstrong kind of getting in on the left, which is kind of how they got their goal. It was just they were just all over us, like in that sense. And fair play. I think you could argue that we kind of seem to be more up for the big games against the the Arsenals, the Man Uniteds, and that Spurs. Whereas, we haven't quite got a grip of the sort of smaller teams in the league and how we should approach those games. Like we're sometimes maybe coming across a little naive, like in our approach to those ones, like we've seen against Everton and Southampton, slow starts to those games. Like maybe that's something that Eddie needs to look into, because you need to be up for the games as much, like even if it's bottom of the league or top of the league.
Did you just call Everton a small team there?
Minuscule.
I can clip that up and get some
minuscule team.
Fishing, huh?
Get some
You know
breaks.
what I mean?
Yeah, no.
What you're saying there about centre of the park. When I sat down to watch the game, obviously find out Longstaff's not playing. That was the first time I realised that his injury was actually like a bit of a bad one, because Eddie had kind of said he might make the game. That worried me because it showed against Aston Villa like we're not the same team without him. And then at the same time, Anthony Gordon gets his start, which I was quite happy about because I think I want to see what he can do. And I want to start with him before we go on to their goal and stuff, because there's obviously been a massive different opinion on, especially on Twitter and that. But for me, I thought Gordon was our best player in the first half, and I thought it was all like he was the brightest player. Everything was coming through him, and yeah, he missed. Mm-hmm. For me, he missed one good chance, but he did hit the post. Mm-hmm. The other chance he pretty much made for himself anyway, hit the side netting. And he's been getting a lot of stick. And I think, Tom, I'll come to you on this because I feel like you on the group chat were of a different opinion in that. He had a pretty poor first half.
I say he had a poor first half only because it's... No, there's no backtracking. There's no backtracking because there's players there's players in this team now who are so clinical when they get chances, like we've seen in recent games. Like you give a chance to Wilson in the similar positions to that Gordon got himself into, or Isak, and it's in the back of the net. And I think the standards of now, that they are increasing game by game, like in terms of what you need to be able to do to keep a place, hold down a place in this starting 11. And for me, and it might be very, very highly critical and overly critical, I just felt like those chances were massive and they should have been scoring them, and that was my feeling on it. Like, but yeah,
I do think he should have scored the one that he hit the post. He should have scored that. His other one was much of a half chance for me, especially from the angle, tight angle. He missed it, and I wasn't bothered that he missed it. I was like, it's a chance, but you know what I mean. It's not an opener, but I think you've got the thing of you've obviously. I know you're saying like so Bruno and Joe Linton, Murphy are all clinical and that now. They've now had a good run of games under the belt. Gordon's been getting pulled off at half time. That's the second time he's been pulled off at half time. Hey, steady on Eddie. Steady Eddie. Get in. He should be full of confidence.
Didn't know that could have been game.
I think like I don't think he's been given a fair crack at the whip. I know Shearer was in the same boat as you, PG. He was saying that he's been poor, blah, blah, blah. But what Sam was saying before, he was creating most of our chances and making the most of the runs towards goal. I even said to Dawson, because we seem to be going out to the right so much and doing the same thing, and it wasn't working. Yeah, it was. I even said, I was like, is this the only idea that we've got? Just run it down the line, slight overlap with Murphy, goes back to Trippier, then it comes back to Shaw, and then it goes all the way over to Burn. That seemed to be the repetitive thing. We didn't have anything else. Hence why Eddie Howe had to take Gordon off. Had to take Gordon off at half time to put Wilson on to give him a different dimension. Which is a shame because when it went to Gordon, he seemed to be creating something. He did put some good balls in.
Yeah.
Before Eddie pulled them off. Hey!
I like in that first half, like as you're saying, like he was creating like the only chances we had, and I think it's because the pressure was building, like into like that sort of half an hour moment where like we couldn't get our foot on the ball. So when he got them chances on the break, that would have just relieved that pressure, and it just would have been like a breath out. That's if you did put it in the net, and you would have been mistaken, I think, in that Murphy might not have been on that pitch in the first half. He didn't do too much.
Nah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, Pete didn't
That
even think
anonymous.
he was playing at one point.
Exactly, mate. What does that tell you?
But you'd had a few beers before the match anyways, so
This is
we'll
true.
let him off.
I think obviously like 10 minutes before the half time they switched them round, which I don't know if that was because Murphy was literally like getting nothing, or at that point Gordon had done the same thing like too many times, and the fullback had started to figure him out, so they switched him round to see if he could get any joy on the right. So that was my thinking when he got took off at half time, was maybe he did have a good maybe
Well,
first
even
half hour, but then he got a
Southampton
bit fouled out.
did the same. They
But, yeah.
flipped their I don't know if it was wing backs or full backs that they were playing, but they definitely switched them round to try and like kind of, because I think at first when Gordon was getting past the Lianco, I think it was, he was getting past them but like a bit too easily, like at the beginning of the game, and then they kind of switched it around a little bit, and it kind of then Gordon, like you say, wasn't getting as many chances, and something about Gordon as well. I don't know if he just like maybe needs to bulk up a little bit, because I think there was a couple of times as well where like when he was kind of trying to get by a few players around the outside, he was just getting blocked off, and like I don't know, maybe I'm looking at too many like minor details, like, but I still think there's a player there. I just think confidence wise, he just doesn't quite seem at it at the moment.
How many minutes did it take for like the likes of Miggy and Joe Linton to really find their feet? It took like a full season
Exactly.
at least.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
barely played 1,000 minutes. Like he's
Yeah,
He's still a kid.
and like
Well,
Sam, you
that's the
mentioned
other thing is the age.
he's so young.
Yeah.
Sam, you mentioned about Twitter before, like they love jumping on players when like the whole like
Aye.
no goals, no assists. He's not like he's doing shite. Like all these people who are like going at him, the chances are none of them have been watching Newcastle games. None of them have probably ever been to a match in their life, and they'll be like sort of salty Everton fans like jumping on him as well, saying like wanting him to just not do well. So it's just a mix of like obviously Twitter noise and just absolute wankers, to be honest. So,
If he'd had a shit game, if he'd had a worse game than he did, but he scored that chance, nobody said fuck all.
silence here.
Yeah. I think maybe it was like the game as well, like because people were frustrated with the game and they saw him as the one opportunity where we should have scored. Maybe he became the scapegoat, but he is 22. Like I don't know, I just feel it's a bit harsh on him. But let's talk about their goal. Alex, what was the feeling like in the ground when they scored? Obviously, Bruno gets like caught on possession, sent to the park, and then a bit of sloppy defending.
Well, it was 3-on-2 really. So obviously, was it Alcaraz who was driving with the ball? He's rapid, to be fair to him. Like he was driving right through the middle, splitting the defence. So he played it really well. He basically he drove to the edge of the box to where one of them had to commit and played the perfect pass. Bruno, what can you say? Like I think he's read it after the game that he didn't have his best game, and that was probably hanging on his mind a little bit. That's like he lost the ball for the goal. The crowd, to be fair, it was already flat by the time they scored. So when they scored, it probably didn't change a whole lot. It's only when
Did it wake them up at all, or?
It picked up a little bit. Like they tried to get some chance going, but I wouldn't say it was like a pure raucous atmosphere, like trying to like get behind the team. It was more, like it was just expected. Like seen it coming. We'd been playing poorly and we'd been punished for it.
Yeah.
And it was very much in the stands that well, it's deserved and we need to change something. And thankfully at half time, and he did, because we came out like a completely different side. in that
It
second
was
half.
quite good work by Stuart Armstrong for the goal.
Yeah.
Because he was behind Trippier, and as the ball came in, Trippier just stood there, didn't know what to do. He just looped him, got in front of Trippier,
Good work by
and
him.
knocked it in. It was good work by him.
But
like, to be
Trips,
fair. Trippier just stood there.
He almost like
I've seen-
fainted towards the back post and stepped in front of him, and Trippier was like a couple of yards off by the time he put it in the net.
yeah. I thought I was a bit critical of Trips on that one, just thinking that he completely lost him. Like, but maybe it was better attack and play than it was necessarily bad defending from Trips. But it wasn't great either. That I don't know where Dan Burn was like when we lost the ball initially with Bruno, because there was a massive hole like that Alcaraz was able to run into down that their right, and
Yeah, Dan Burns that slow.
yeah.
Dan Burns that slow.
Like,
He's probably still
it was
putting his
just-
boots on.
no, like it just presented the chance.
Absolutely shot.
Try
Easy
I'm guessing. I'm guessing you didn't listen to the pod last week.
Why? What was said?
Just giving massive
I'm not
props to
chances
Dan
on that,
Burn
no.
all episode. As soon as you're back, he's getting points straight under the bus.
Controversial, mate.
He's just
More
jealous of
opinionated,
his
more
length.
opinionated than informative.
Aye.
You couldn't lace his boots because you couldn't reach them.
Yeah, this is very true.
Alex obviously mentioned there at half time, and like the fact Eddie changes it up. So before we get on to the second half specifically, what did you make of that substitute when you saw it was Gordon who got hooked or pulled off, as people would say, and Wilson comes on? Obviously, it's like in my head, it's a positive change. You're getting a goal scorer on the pitch, but I did feel a bit for Gordon. I wondered why maybe Murphy didn't come on.
Well, we discussed this like at half time because as all the players went down the tunnel, Wilson stayed out by himself to start warming up. So we knew he was coming on at half time. So we had this discussion like, right, who's coming on for? And we thought probably it would be more likely Murphy than Gordon. We did think it would be one of the two wingers, but we thought it would be Murphy, I think, that would came off. Because, yeah, as I said, it didn't really influence the game at all in that first half. You understand why Eddie made that change, because Isak basically played as a left winger in that second half. He didn't really change the formation, which he's done in the past, like when Isak's went in like 4-2-4 with both of them up top, and he's played him as like a number 10 before. But he was very much hugging that touchline, so that's obviously the idea he had. Keep Isak wide, and Gordon,
Well,
therefore, is
it
the man
worked
who had
to
to go
such
after him.
great effect against Everton, and we have said, like, I think, going back a few months now when we were talking about how we can integrate them both into the same team, and I think I mentioned obviously that he can play off that left and he could cut inside onto his right, so I think it's a like for like swap in that case for Gordon, whereas
I think we've got one answer now, like
because
where he fits in best.
But it's also great for Wilson's fitness because Wilson's getting a half in. He's bagging. He's scoring 2 goals here and there. And he scored 8 and 7 or 7 and 6 or something like that.
8 goals in April.
And like he's staying fit because he's not getting worked into the ground. We all know he's injury prone. He's not getting hammered into the ground. He's coming on and doing his bit, which is more than enough. So he's staying fit.
getting the type of goals that we like expect him to get, like because the up
Strikers goals. Yeah.
It's the most goals scored for Newcastle in a month, isn't it? Like he's beat Shearer's record now.
Is he really?
Yeah, I think Shearer obviously had 7, and then Wilson just got 8 in that game. Which, yeah, I mean, getting 2.5, but what a difference it made. Like we did look like a total different team. It was almost like a different mindset as well as a different sort of group of players. It was an actual different mindset on the pitch.
We
I think
definitely went
teams
more
are
attacking.
starting to fear as well, like when they see both Isak and Wilson on the pitch at the same time. It just, the goals that they've scored in April speak for themselves between them. Like, it does strike a bit of fear into defenders, and you could tell Southampton, like, they were they would naturally were going to try and sit on that 1-0 lead for as long as they could and try and hit on the counter, but we didn't even give them a chance to even think about like getting into any kind of rhythm. Like we were just straight onto them from the off and building up the pressure. Obviously, we had a very good chance just before the equaliser, but yeah, it just seemed like it was just inevitable that it was gonna we were going to score pretty soon after the second half started, and then the game would have completely changed after that, which it did.
Yeah, and it was the two strikers combined, like Isak and Wilson combined for the first one. I think it was about 10 minutes
Yeah,
after half time.
54 minutes.
Which what was that like in the ground?
Relief.
But yeah, it was. But like we'd already started really strong in that second half, so it just felt like that was just the beginning. Like as like the game went on, I just felt like it was inevitable after that that we were
Yeah.
going to get another. And obviously we'll get on the one that was ruled out. But yeah, in that stadium, obviously, what do you expect? Like 10 minutes after half time, you completely transformed how we were playing and getting early goals. So yeah, class.
And then, do you want to move on to the one that was ruled out now then? Was that the second? Or was that
It
the
took
first?
so
Yeah.
fucking long for
Aye.
me to look at it.
Far
By the
too
way,
long. Far too long.
Yeah, they were trying to figure out if
If it
Miggy
touched Miggy or
touched
not.
it, weren't they? Yeah.
and then they still couldn't figure it out, so they just guessed. Because if it
Yeah,
was that
exactly.
clear that it touched him, it would have taken a lot less than like 3 or 4 minutes or whatever it
And
took
then what
them
happened?
to
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah. That's the annoying thing is like it's
Yeah,
not clear and obvious error. I know like offsides is meant to be different, but
But it's whether he touched it. That it wasn't the offside, which was the sort of subjective call. It was whether
well,
he
it
touched
goes.
him, which
yeah.
it wasn't clear or obvious.
If you can't tell if it's touched him,
Yeah,
surely you can't say it's touched him.
I know, yeah.
Because then you can't tell, which means you can't see the ball move. So surely you can't say, oh, well, it must have touched him. Well, how have you come to that conclusion? Like you say, Dawes, if you can see it's touched him, you can
it
see the
goes.
ball's moved. Okay, fair enough, it's touched him.
I think the thing was the ball did move. It was just who touched it, whether it was the Southampton player or Miggy.
Well,
We
yeah,
had that
okay,
away at
yeah,
Forest,
same
didn't
thing.
we?
Like,
Like
how
for
do you get around that?
Anderson's goal that was ruled out, which shouldn't have been. So why have like they then kind
Yeah,
of
aye.
again made a call, which I think they came out and like, or a lot of ex-referees after that Forest game came out and said that they made the wrong call there, which it was a wrong call. So why have they then like not learned anything from it and just like I thought benefit of the doubt had like went to the attacking team when it was very much like a situation like that where it's so unclear, and there's no angle that can really make it clear. They should have just stuck with the on field decision, which was a goal.
I don't even think there's any benefit of the doubt these days, is there with VAR? Nobody's got any benefit of the doubt. Unfortunately.
Yeah,
Even though they
it's weird.
should, because they can't tell for 100% certain, so there should be some benefit of the doubt, but because the VAR gets relied on so much, everyone thinks that has to, because we use it, everyone's like, okay, and if we're using VAR, that has to give us the right answer.
Yeah, but it still couldn't
Otherwise,
give
it's
us the right
pointless.
answer because it was so unclear. And
Oh yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That's why I don't think that they're going to give benefit of the doubt, because they feel like they have to give a
true.
definitive
It just
answer,
got
whether
like
it be right or wrong.
from you guys in the stands and like for us watching at home, it's such a long wait to still not be completely sure. And it's the whole point of VAR is to try and get to the correct answer and like do it in a timely fashion. And I don't think they did either of them things for that one. Which I mean, ultimately it didn't matter too much for the end result, but it's still um, frustrating that. Well, yeah, that would have been
Stopped
nice for them
Wilson's
to
hattie as
have
well, though,
got it
didn't it?
from that. But yeah,
Absolutely fuming. Um, the next one
it took
was
yeah
own goal, wasn't it? I thought Botman had scored at first, the way they were celebrating.
Nah,
But-
you can tell by the reactions that he hadn't got it, because Dan Burn was like hugging him over his shoulders, like pointing to him, like trying his best to whoever was officiating to give it to him, because
That's quite funny, that.
you could see at the time it was funny, wasn't it?
Did yeah.
The stadium announcer gave it to fucking Bruno.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aye, and I
He's
heard
a
that on the
fucking
TV
rat,
as
like,
well.
what?
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking.
Didn't
there.
get that, like. I don't know.
Just trying to make him feel better after
Must have, but
he
it
got
took a
robbed for their goal.
took a while, you know. Like
Just give
I
it
know,
a break.
like we were talking how we got such a fast start, and I know we were peppering them for like other moments after that, and we had the VAR one ruled out, but it took until 79 minutes before we actually then took the lead through that own goal. So like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the fact we got the one that was disallowed as well, like maybe 5 minutes before that, like it made it feel more like we were taking the advantage, and obviously we were playing way better in the second half. But you're right, it was a bit later on in the game where we actually took the lead, and then
Well, yeah, it didn't take
Obviously
long
finished
after
it off
that,
to
was it?
make
It
it
was
3-1.
pretty much like a few minutes after, and like Route One kind of from Nick Pope, like horrible defending. Well, yeah.
we should do that more often, to be honest.
No, yeah, if he can get it
Don't
as
trust
far
him
down the
enough.
field as he did, like, and I mean, yeah, we're not going to come up against defenders who let the ball bounce like that. I mean, that was criminal. Like, you just don't.
Yeah, we were like, what the fuck has just happened? How was
It
how
was just
we end up with the
categorical,
ball in
like,
this
just
situation?
yeah, so many errors. Like, they let the ball bounce, and then they just couldn't get the ball out with their feet, and then like, yeah, somehow it just pops back from Willock to Wilson, and I mean, sort of goal that he mops up like at any time. Like,
It was good. Good cool head
Aye,
on him, like
just-
just round the keeper and dink it in, like.
yeah, and that was it. Like after that, there was no like concerns really from like from Southampton's point of view getting back at us. It was more of a case of can we like put 4 and 5 in, like yeah.
Damage limitation,
which-
wasn't it?
well, Wilson nearly
Well,
did as well.
twice.
He nearly got his hat-trick, didn't he? Hit the
Yeah, I mean that was
hit the bar
some
twice with
effort,
one
like.
effort.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
no.
Exactly,
I know Wilson's still waiting for that first hat trick, but yeah, it'll come. Like I can see maybe in one of our final games, we've got some games where I reckon he could bag a hattie in one of them. Only a matter of time.
I think before we move on from this game, I just wanted to highlight the fact that obviously Wilson is back on fire. Like, he's back to the player we all know and love after his goal drought. And I've heard some other players questioning whether he's even like going to be part of this team going forward. Talking about is his Newcastle United career over when he was in that bit of a dry patch. And I just think it's absolutely ridiculous to even question that.
Just what
Like
happens, wasn't it?
every player, especially strikers, go through dry spells. Like he's absolutely quality, and he has been the whole time he's been with us. So to even question that he wouldn't be with us next season is ridiculous. And then yeah, I'm so glad that he's put it back in everyone's faces, and he's like back to the top scorer. He seems to be loving his football again, and even though he's having his minutes managed, he's still coming up with the goods. So and it's good to see Isak and him combining so well as well, not just competing with each other for the starting lineup, but on the pitch together. They look mint. So unless you guys have got anything to talk about, we'll move on to the Arsenal game.
Oh, good, mate. Let's go.
Well, let's start with Isak and Wilson. Then, do you think there's any chance that them two start the game together?
Yeah. We were talking about this when we were doors.
I think
We've got
I think
quite a fucking goal. All
he's
guns
got to
blazing.
start them both.
All
The
gunners
electric
blazing.
will work. The only thing that like makes us think that it might not happen is Longstaff being fit. If we've got the same players available, I think we'll start with Isak on the left, Wilson up top, and probably Murphy on the right. But if Longstaff comes back in, obviously we're all playing Arsenal. They are a very good attacking side. They're scoring.
Well, that's it. They're like a fast start. We've just seen, as we're recording this, the 3-0 at the half time against Chelsea, and that Chelsea have been wank, but do you know what I mean? They're like a fast start. So do you have to take that into consideration of the whole counter-attacking thing? As soon as we break their play down, then we can break. If we have Wilson and Isak up top, it's just both teams going at it and could possibly leave themselves open.
But Isak's got that defensive capability as well.
Yeah.
He's got the legs to do it. So even if he only lasts 60, 70 minutes, like starting from the left, like honestly, he was having Leanco's pants down. Like
his dribbling skills are stupid.
His dribbling skills is ridiculous. He done it again. He went in between two players again the other night, and honestly, like he's just a joy to watch. Like when he squares defenders up, you can tell they just shit themselves. Like he can go outside, he can go inside, and there's no telling what he can do because the ball just sticks to his foot.
I mean, mate, you took the words out of my mouth. The ball just sticks to his feet. But on the plus side, like you said there, Longstaff could be back, and Maxi could be back as well. He's fishing. He's putting a few tweets out there and Instagram posts saying that he's back. So it's another bit of firepower off the bench to have him dribbling at you. So I don't know. I don't think I can predict what he's going to do. I don't think Longstaff comes back in.
I think this is probably the hardest lineup of the season to try and predict because can you keep on dropping Callum Wilson after scoring 2 goals every game?
Well, but the formula's working.
I know. But it's not working when he's not on the pitch.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing. Swings and roundabouts.
I think Eddie will want that option off the bench personally, because if you start them both, there's not really that striking option to come on. And I think if Longstaff is fit, he'll play, and I think we'll go with the usual where it's like Jolit and Willock doing the interchanging on the left.
So you think Gordon gets dropped? I'm guessing.
Well, then does he get? If Maxi's fit, does Gordon then find himself even demoted onto the bench as like not even?
This is the thing you've got to monitor, don't you? Because his confidence could be fucking shot to bits here. He's getting taken off the pitch at half time, then he's getting dropped again, not starting for a player who's sort of just come back from injury, if you like.
Been in France for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I don't think Maxi will be fit enough to be.
No, yeah, he'll get 15 minutes.
He'll come on for 15 minutes or so. And
I don't even know he'll get on against Arsenal, to be honest. I think if we're chasing the game, you probably will go with Gordon because he's more match sharp.
When we were talking about match sharpness the other day with Matt Targett against Everton, and you could tell how lacking he was, like, and it definitely was it was obvious. So we wouldn't want to have the same again with like throwing Maxi in too early if he's especially in a massive game against Arsenal. Question marks.
Any question marks around Murphy starting?
Didn't panic.
Question marks on what? Sorry, Sam. Murphy. Where are you?
Murphy. Your man. The main man.
Don't act like you didn't hear me.
Your man.
Hey, look, I think certain Miggy. The great thing is obviously they're both like in form. Miggy's like not been at his like best from beginning of the season, hence why Murphy's then had this run and started like, you know, really performing exceptionally well. But Miggy can still come in and like, you know, he did do some things against Everton, did Miggy. So I feel like he's Miggy could get a start. I don't know.
Is there any chance Gordon goes on the right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if because he's right-footed, is Gordon. So No, I know, but
So's Murphy.
I think Gordon's game is more suited to cutting in on the right rather than taking the defender down the right side and whipping crosses in with the right foot. Is from what I can tell of him early days. Like he could still develop into that player that Murphy is and who can get that burst of pace and like get around him. But the defender, but I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Gordon to say whether or not he can play down the right.
All right, let's transition on to Arsenal then. Is there anything with them playing Chelsea tonight that you can see getting changed for our game? Or
Well,
Saliba might
Mitch,
be back.
how much are you watching the match? Because yeah, there's centre half conundrum that they've got. Um, they've got Saliba obviously still out, and Arteta was pretty coy. He was like, he's not going to make the match tomorrow. He mentioned this yesterday. However, we'll have to see about Sunday. So, God knows. I think he is nearing a return. But the interesting change in the lineup today was that Rob Holding had been dropped, and this young Jacob Kivio, I want to say, was getting his first start. I haven't seen him play. I'm not watching the match tonight, so he's very much an unknown. A young lad that came in from Poland in January. Um, so I'll be interested to see him square up to both Isak
Well,
and
it's not
Wilson.
like he's had a
yeah,
big name striker for
I
Chelsea
think
to worry him. I think by the sounds of it, Aubameyang's had an absolute stinker today against the two Arsenal centre halves. So I think that they'll definitely be having a harder task at St James's.
it looks like Trossard started, which from what I've seen of Arsenal recently, he always comes on off the bench. So I don't know if they're
Does well off the
trying
bench,
to.
doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if they're trying to keep some legs for our game or if it's just uh,
He's
through
he's just been
injury or
subbed
he's
as
done well training
Trossard
or what.
for
But
Martinelli, so I think it might have just been a bit of like rotation. Obviously, Martinelli's been the one who's started more games this.
Yeah, he's been bagging for fun lately as well, Martinelli. So you'd think that he's going to be their first choice if they've got like a
Yeah, him,
fully fit
Jesus, and
starter.
Saka, which would be
Yeah,
and with Saka as well, we had to really double up on him last time we played them. So that could really affect who starts on the left as well. Whether he'll trust Isak to do that or whether he's going to have to make sure I don't know Bruno or Joe Linton if they're playing centre mid is doing that.
I would say Joe
If we
Linton
start
will be
out
probably
Isak
tasked
on the
with
left.
like coming across and supporting Dan Burn. And I mean, I feel sorry for Saka with fucking two giants of Joe Linton and Burn like trying to keep you under wraps because yeah they'll look to try and bully him a little bit and yeah like we did after that like opening 5 minutes at the Emirates where Burn was just getting put on toast by Saka like after after that 5 minutes he sorted him out and like he was a lot more solid so yeah I'd like to think that we're gonna approach it this a little better.
We're not many teams go at Arsenal because they shit themselves. But I fully believe we fucking will. Well, Eddie Howe said this all the time. He says we don't play to draw, we play to win.
I mean,
Yeah.
at the Emirates we're playing to draw, like, not gonna lie.
Yeah, we did. Eddie Howe's not going to say that, is he? But
Yeah, yeah.
we did.
But-
But the way that we're playing now, we're not fucking scared of anyone.
It's
What's
completely
the-
different. At St James's, completely different.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, it's what's it? 4:30 kickoff. Half past 4. Is it? 4:30 kickoff. The majority of the stadium, it's bank holiday. The majority of them are going to be absolutely steambolled. So the atmosphere will be bouncing. Before the game, the atmosphere will be absolutely electric. You just know it. Maybe that's the whole reason why the Southampton game was shit because everyone was. I know it was bank holiday, but I mean, I'm just going off what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were like, we're not going on a mad one this weekend because we're going on a mad one next weekend for the Arsenal game. I can imagine the majority of people are doing that because the Arsenal game, much like the Man United game, much like the Spurs game, was a big game. You're playing one of the top. You play top of the league. Like we could
Not
potentially stop them winning the league.
Well-
We could potentially stop them winning the league. I know. I think they've lost. I think they've lost it already. But like, this could be.
Well, it could be because I mean, City
match, this.
play again tomorrow against West Ham, where they'll likely be going back on top, and then they play on the Saturday, so they could be 4 points clear, still with a game in hand over Arsenal. So for Arsenal,
Yeah.
like they would be going into that game against us knowing full well like they have to win the game. So it makes for like
It would be good
Oh,
for
yeah.
us if City win, like,
yeah.
demoralise them a bit. And then if we could go 1-0 up,
Oh well,
that
totally.
would
Like
really put
they
their heads
have
down.
to. There's no or Chelsea
Yeah.
pulled one back, but yeah, there's no other thing in question. They have to pretty much win out the rest of their games because City will beat West Ham and they'll beat Leeds like in their next two games, both at home. So yeah, all pressure on Arsenal, and we should just approach it like that. Like it's all on them. Like yeah, I know we've.
But also, Liverpool play twice before we play as well, so they cut the gap from 9 points to 3. So then we are sort of potentially thinking like, oh, they're going to be on our backs here. So I couldn't say that the pressure's on all on Arsenal because I think yeah, if Liverpool are kicking out with heels, then we're going to start feeling the pressure and like we'll think we need to get at least a point on Sunday.
Do you think there could be any chance of the fact last season's game was so good, like the atmosphere was so good? Do you think that could go against us in any way? Like too much sort of expectation
Well,
for it to be the
War
same
Flags
again?
have said for us to like bring the flags and bring the scarves and stuff like for this one. Obviously trying to replicate some of that atmosphere from last season and like some of the big games we've had this season in like the cups and against Man United and everything else. So like yeah, there could be an element of like, are we trying? Well, I don't know. Like, are you saying like that we're
They'll be trying to get one over on us as well after that. After we stop them getting Champions League in our back garden, like they'll be wanting to shut us up and put us back in our place if you like. But obviously, I mean that's not going to happen. Like I think they'll fold me. I think the atmosphere will be that fucking bouncing. I think they'll just curl up. That's what happened last game. Like we're talking about. That's what happened when we stopped them. Getting the Champions League, it was because the atmosphere was just stupidly good. Like it was mad. I remember seeing the
Well,
photos
that's
of
what
Bruno
worries me slightly.
lapping it
yeah, I'm
up.
not sure what you mean by
In what
that.
way?
Just that it might not be it just might not be the same again, and everyone's expecting it to be the same again.
I fully think it will be like might not be exactly the same, but was it not a Friday night or something game?
It was
Or
a night
Saturday
game,
game against Arsenal. Was it a night game?
I think
Yeah, so obviously night games under the lights is always better, but so was a bank
Only
holiday on the
thing-
piss. So
Yeah,
The only point I'll make
You know
to
what I
what you
mean?
just
So-
said there, Sam, about worrying about trying to live up to what it was like last season. Obviously, Arsenal had the documentary being recorded, and that was obviously a massive like point in the documentary after our game and them not making the Champions League. Obviously, we're getting recorded right now for our documentary, so like I'm sure there'll be like people be. And I mean, it's just
and we're going to
the
Champions League.
juxtaposition, like, just seems like, just right there for a documentary, like, maker to be, like, having a wet dream over it. Like, so, yeah, that is a worry. Like, I would hate for us to, like, be caught out in the documentary, losing to Arsenal in that sense, but yeah.
We just
When the
don't want to do
camera
now.
pans to Pete in the galleries, crying after a 4-0 down.
I saw you crying on the
After
Netflix.
6 pints.
Yeah.
You drop your pie,
Yeah. Because I've dropped my pie.
Again.
Again, aye. Get Dawson, get the photo on the socials. Pete dropped his pie 2.0. Aye. What was I going to say there? You sidetracked us, man.
Your pie.
God, that's what I was going to say there. I haven't a clue.
Well,
But yeah, like it's Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Wait.
We just need to do. I don't want to. I'm really worried recently about Nick Pope in his feet. Like it was the same at Southampton. Every time he gets the ball, he receives the ball, and he has like a massive touch away from him, and then he's slow to run back to it. I'm thinking, fucking hell, man. Like I don't like it.
Botman
I
saw
feel
him
like
a bit short at one point as well in the last
yeah,
game.
some of them do. It's like some of the players. Obviously, they've got to have confidence in him, and they've got to believe in him. But I feel like some of the players get themselves in a bit of a shit situation, like with the ball at the back. So they just release it to Nick Pope, and then it's like, well, it's not my fault. Nick Pope had the ball, and it's like, everyone knows Nick Pope's not good with his feet. Stop giving them the ball, unless it's a clearance or something like that. In tight situation, okay, I get sometimes you have to, but when we're under pressure and he's got players running at him, don't do it Nick Pope, just fucking kick it out. Because I'd rather it be booted out for a corner or a throw in than have Nick Pope taking a touch inside his 5-yard box, 6-yard box.
5-yard box.
Everything's smaller to me, mate. 5-yard box. So
Yeah.
and just pissing about with it.
Yeah, I think Arsenal
that's my only
will
worry.
probably have. Well, they'll probably highlight that with they've got loads of speed up front on this. So
Yeah, they'll just pressure him. As soon as Nick Pope gets a ball, the pressure's on him.
yeah,
You know what? We'll do exactly the same to them. Like Ramsdale, like he's good with his feet.
Oh,
but he
he's-
can hold the ball
Yeah.
for too long.
he's been having shockers recently, though, hasn't he? He's had
Well,
a
with the
few
saves
stinkers
as well,
recently. All right, we're getting on a bit for time, so let's go to predictions. Obviously, last week we had a correct prediction. That was made by Jord, who was standing in for Pete. Now
Oh,
we
Jord,
have to
lad.
decide: does Pete get those points, or shall we give Jord the points?
I'm giving Jordan the points because I'm not having a guy who comes on once every 4 months, being higher than us in the prediction table.
He's already
I
iron.
give it to George.
So who you giving the points? Me or Jord?
Jord.
Filthy bastards.
So you and Jord are tied at the top of the league for predictions this season. And that was obviously 3-1 correct prediction. I'll just give you a reminder. Tom, you went 4-0. Dorsey, you went 3-0. And I went 6-2.
I have to say, like, I know we'll concede.
Yeah.
Then pick Bruno.
Yeah. So, Arsenal at home then.
That's true.
3-0.
2.
Well, I'm going to say
Actually 3-0 at the toon, Pete.
Yeah.
what dose did you say? 2-0 Toon.
No.
Oh,
Just gonna go with
2-2,
Pope.
sorry.
Desmond 2-2.
I'm saying 2-1 to the Toon.
Aye.
Okay. I'm going to go 3-2 to the toon.
Goals.
Also, I wanted to throw a curveball at this point. So without checking the fixtures so quickly here, we've got 5 games left this season, I think.
Yeah.
How many points we getting before the end of the season? I'll go first
I'm
with
going to say
11.
10.
Don't know if that's
for me.
mathematically possible.
5.
How many games we got left? 5.
5.
5.
10 points, and I think that guarantees your top 4.
Come on, quickly now.
8.
8?
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go with 10.
That's
I reckon
what
we'll
I'm
get
thinking.
3 wins and a draw. I think we'll beat Chelsea, Leicester, Leeds, get a point against either Arsenal or Brighton, and lose the other one. I think that's probably about fair. And then I think someone's worked it out on Twitter that if we get 7 points, we'll
Depends
guarantee
on
Champions League. So 2 wins.
Champions League, really?
Yeah,
Not just guaranteed European football.
guaranteed.
I think
We're
guaranteed
already
European football now.
guaranteed. Yeah.
See, I've seen that, but how
Can't
is
just
that
piss
possible?
Europa Conference like?
I think it's with the head-to-heads
Just,
as well. 'Cause
oh, right.
since
okay.
there's a few of them playing each other, there's only a maximum that like some of them can get, obviously. So
Because I was like, if Brighton win the rest of their games, because they've still got 7 games to go, surely that would mean they'd go ahead of us, and they're in 8th. But I guess all the other teams have to go ahead of us as
And
well,
they play
right?
us.
Brighton have got like Man U, Arsenal,
Yeah.
Man City, Villa all to play, so that would be taking points off the teams around there as well.
Yeah, alright, okay. Sweet. So we're definitely going to Europe next season then.
I think the predictors now have us a higher percentage than Man U to finish top 4.
Got 97% guaranteed Champions League football going to Opta.
But even Europa Conference, that's like
We're in Europe now. We're
Yeah.
done with Europe. We're in Europe now.
Get in. What a way to end the pod.
Get
Did you research
your
that, some of
squad
you?
washed. We're going to Europe, lads.
Well, this is it. I did do my research, but my maths was like telling
From
me,
last season.
oh. So, oh, we might get relegated, yeah.
Are we mathematically safe yet?
Do that.
We've got
All
the
right.
magic 40 points.
Thanks for watching, guys, or listening on podcast platforms. If you can, give us a like, that would be great. Join us next week. We'll review the Arsenal game. Hopefully we'll have 3 points and we can be celebrating one step closer to Champions League. And then we'll be looking on to the next game. We'll see you then.